Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. All praises are due to Allah, the Creator, the Cherisher, and the Sustainer of this universe. And may His peace and blessings be upon His noble Prophet Muhammad and his companions and descendants and followers. Dear respected brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, I'm so happy to be in Hong Kong again among all of you. Very happy to see many of the faces that I have seen before, maybe more than 2 years now, 3 years now maybe. No, 1.5 years, because it's been like 2 years after the Egyptian Revolution now. This coming January will be 2 years for after the Egyptian Revolution. So it's for sure more than 2 years. Yeah, okay. And today's talk is a very important one actually. It's about Fiqh al-Awlawiyat. First, let's understand what the word fiqh means. The word fiqh in the Arabic language means the deep understanding. To understand something deeply, it means yafqahu something. To yafqahu shay means to understand something deeply, profoundly, comprehensively, to comprehend something, okay? So this is what the word fiqh means. And the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, which means the one whom Allah wants something good for him, He makes him, has fiqh in deen. He makes him understand deeply his deen, his religion, and his way of life. But we need to talk about fiqh. Here I remember a very beautiful word by Sheikh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, where he said that the wise man, the wise, is not he who knows good from bad. Good from bad is very obvious. The wise is the one who knows the better of two good things and the worst of two bad things. This is not anyone can know if there are two things, which one is better than what. If there are two bad things, which one is worse than what, in order to be able to choose. And that's why we will talk about priorities. As a Muslim, how can I choose? Because we live in a world full of options. Right now you have an option to continue or to leave. Right now you have an option when you go back home to take one chai or to take another way, to take a taxi or to take the MTR. MTR, right? Yes. Okay. And so on. So we live in a world full of options. How can I choose as a Muslim? So not everything in this religion has the same weight. There is a price list in Islam. You know, you go to a sushi restaurant and you ask for the price list. The menu is what? Is a price list. It tells you this is so and so, you pay so and so for it, and so on. So there's a price list in Islam too. We need to understand that the Quran talked about this different weights for good things. ربنا سبحانه وتعالى said in the Quran, أجعلتم سقاية الحاج وعمارة المسجد الحرام كمن آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وجاهد في سبيل الله لا يستوون عند الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do you make the giving of drink to the pilgrims, those who give pilgrims to drink in pilgrimage, okay? And the maintenance of the Al-Masjid Al-Haram, the sacred mosque. Do you think that it is equal to believing in Allah and in the Day of Judgment and to strive in the cause of Allah? They are not all the same, which means even among good deeds, not all of them have the same weight. Some are bigger than others. Among the obligations, there are obligations in Islam. Some obligations are pillars of Islam, like the Salah, like the Hajj, like the Zakat, like Sawm, Ramadan. And some other obligations are not pillars, but they are still obligations. Among the obligations, there are, among the halal, there is also a price list. So there is something which is halal to do. You can do it, but it's recommended. And something which is not recommended, but still halal. So we have a variety of choices. Among the haram, there is major sins and minor sins. Super haram and minor haram. There are major sins and minor sins. So the issue is, how can I choose? That's why we are here today. Okay? Let's see the difference between us and the older generations. How we think and how they think. Muslims today, we magnified things that are really minute. They are not really big, but we magnified it. And we, at the same time, diminished things that are already huge. Okay? For example, you tell a Muslim, what are the most important things in Islam? He starts speaking about things like, well, the siwak is very important. The siwak is something okay, of course. Recommended, of course. But does it come number one for you? This is the issue. Well, some sisters came to me and they told me, brother, we have a problem with one of our friends. I said, what happened? She said she took off her hijab and we need to see how can we convince her to wear her hijab again. I said, yeah, this is serious, of course. Tell me a little bit about her. They said, well, she stopped praying about 2 years ago. And I said, what? She stopped praying 2 years ago, and you're coming today to tell me she took off her hijab? You were not bothered when she stopped praying? Well, she stopped one of the pillars of Islam. So the issue is, we have some kind of unbalanced mentality. Okay? So we magnified what's minute and we diminished what is huge. We prioritized what can be postponed, and we delayed things that are urgent, things that should be done right the way, and we are just delaying it. We give attention to things that are insignificant, okay, and we neglect things that are very important. Let me tell you that when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ died, he died Monday afternoon or in the evening. He was buried on Wednesday morning. Monday night, Tuesday, all day, Tuesday night, the Sahaba were sitting, trying to find how can they manage the Ummah? Who will be the leader? This came for them number one before burying Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is how they used to think. Priorities. What is the priority right now? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned Muslims from having an unbalanced mentality, when they become unbalanced with their priorities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَبْنَاؤُكُمْ وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. It means, say, if it be that your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your spouses, or your kindred, or the wealth that you accumulated, or the commerce in which you fear a decline, or the dwellings in which you delight are dearer to you, which means that they can be dear to you. You can love all those things, but you cannot love them more than Allah and His Messenger, or striving in His cause. Then wait until Allah brings about His decision, and Allah guides not the disobedient, which means you can love the world pleasures, but you cannot love them more than you love Allah and the Messenger and striving in the cause of Allah. So Allah warned Muslims from having an unbalanced mentality. The main goal of the Fiqh of Priorities is to know what is important from what is less important. how to choose, in order to be able to choose. As I said, we are living in a world which is full of choices in these circumstances, okay? Examples of choices. The Sahaba chose to surprise the Persians when they were fighting. They put a city called Tustar under siege for more than a month. And the city was so strong and they were unable to take over the city, okay? The Persian army was taking a lot of defenses in the castles around the city. So the Sahaba, during the whole month, they pray when it's time for Fajr. So the Persians know that when it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and the Sahaba did not yet try to attack, that they are not going to attack because very soon they will pray. So the Sahaba chose to attack directly after Fajr to surprise the Persians, knowing that they may not catch Fajr. And they did not catch it that day. And one of the Sahaba spoke about it, and he said, the most weird Fajr prayer I prayed is at the day when we took over Tustar, because we prayed Fajr and the sun was already in the sky. That's big. That's big. But here they started to look at the priorities. Okay? Are we going to stay here forever? And they are shooting at us every night, killing from us, and we are unable to do anything. Let's surprise them. Umar ibn Khattab forbade marriage from non-Muslims when he feared where Muslim men can marry Christians or Jews or Jewesses, beside Muslim women, of course. But at the time of Umar ibn Khattab, he forbade this. He said, I don't want to see many non-Muslim girls suffering from bachelorhood. If all the Muslim men would go and marry Christian women and Jewish women, I don't want that, especially after like many new territories were conquered and opened and so on. So he forbade it. It was a choice. Umar chose to go and cut the tree of Bay'at al-Ridwan, which was mentioned in the Quran, that Allah is pleased with those, O Muhammad, who are giving you the pledge of allegiance under the tree. That tree, some people started to go and seek barakah. Seek barakah with the tree. Anything like that is called shirk. Anything like that is called shirk. As a Muslim, I believe that the barakah comes only from Allah. Madad comes only from Allah. Help comes only from Allah. No one else, not even Prophet Muhammad himself. Am I too impolite? No, that's what the Quran says. قُلْ إِنِّي لَا أَمْلِكُ لَكُمْ نَفْعًا وَلَا ضَرًّا. Say, O Muhammad, tell them, I cannot do anything for you, neither good nor harm. No one can benefit you or harm you except Allah. Tawheed, which means the unique oneness of Allah, is to know that only Him can do for you, good or bad. Don't seek barakah from Him. Umar, when he saw people going to have some blessings from the tree, he cut the tree. The tree is mentioned in the Quran. He said, cut it. Cut it. This is bringing shirk back. Some people will start worshipping this tree. Just cut it. And he did it. That was a heck of a choice. That's not an easy choice to go and cut a tree which is mentioned in the Quran. Ammar ibn Yasir. Here I have two different stories. The story of Ammar ibn Yasir, one of the great Sahaba of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the story of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Ammar ibn Yasir was tortured by the Meccans. And they said, we will not stop the torture except if you insult Muhammad. So he insulted the Prophet. He said bad words about him. And he came to the Prophet crying. O Prophet of Allah, I said kufr. I called you bad names to stop the torture. The Prophet said, فَإِنْ عَادُوا فَعُدْ. If they do this again to you, do it again. After he asked him, and how did you find your heart? He said, my heart was full of iman, but I had to say so to stop the torture. It was too hard. I couldn't bear it. He said, as long as your heart is full of iman, if they do this again to you, do it to stop the torture. This is Ammar ibn Yasir, one of the greatest people who ever walked the face of the earth, the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, one of the founders of one of the four main schools of thought. At his time there was a fitna about the creation of the Quran. Some people said the Quran is created, and the Ahl-Sunnah, the Salaf, they believe that the Quran is not created. This is the word of Allah. So that was a kind of fitna. And his opinion was that the Quran is not created. It's the word of Allah. So it's not created. Anyway, that's not our issue now. So he was tortured because the authorities at that time, those who were in power, the Khalifa at that time, okay, from the Abbasis, they were Mu'tazila. They believed that the Quran is created. So they tortured him to say a different opinion. And he did not submit to them. He did not compromise. And he went through a lot of torture, something that no one can imagine. Who is more brave? Who is right and who's wrong? Ammar ibn Yasir or Ahmad ibn Hanbal? Well, he could have just said something that they want to stop the torture too. No. Here, Ammar ibn Yasir is not number one. Ammar ibn Yasir, that was at the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So the Prophet is the example. People are taking the Prophet as the example. What Ammar is doing is not tashri'. So Ammar could have done that. He can do it comfortably. But Ahmad ibn Hanbal is one of the main leaders, one of the biggest scholars of his time. If he deviates, people will deviate. So each one of them, when he chose what's right. But you see that both of them, they chose things opposite to each other. Because the circumstances here are different from the circumstances here. So we have to understand always the circumstances in order to understand how can we choose. There are ultimate goals of the Sharia. These are called Al-Kulliyat Al-Khamsa. The ultimate goals of the Islamic Sharia. The Islamic Sharia, Allah sent it to protect 5 things. Number 1. Number 2, life. Number 3, the mind. Number 4, progeny. Number 5, wealth. I have to write them because we will use them. We will use them all through the presentation. The ultimate goals of the Sharia is to protect. Tell me, one by one. Which one? First, faith. 2, life. 3, mind. 4, progeny or the procreation, progeny, kids. 5, wealth. Okay. Enjoy my handwriting. Okay? These are the ultimate goals of the Sharia. Every one of those goals, there are 3 levels for its protection or to preserve it. The first level is called the necessities, or al-daruriyat, things that are necessary to protect one of these. The second level is the needs, al-hajiyat, things that are needed for any one of these. And the third are the luxuries, tahsiniyat. Those are the three levels, okay, of preserving any one of those 5 goals. Number 1, the necessities, daruriyat. 2, needs, hajiyat. 3, luxuries, tahsiniyat. Let's try to understand them now. The necessities are things that without them you will lose any one of those ultimate goals. So there are things that are necessary to keep your faith, to be a Muslim. Like what? The 5 pillars of Islam. There are things that are needed for your faith. Like, for example, your hijab, your praying in the mosque, needed. But if you don't wear hijab, still you're a Muslim. If you don't pray in the mosque, still you're a Muslim. So it is not a necessity, but it's a need. It's important. But without it, still you have faith. There are luxuries. Things that are luxuries. Things that make life easier. Okay? Things that if they do not exist, not a big deal. Okay? We will take some examples now. To protect your life, what are the necessities? Food, to eat, okay? To drink, to breathe. To protect your mind, what are the necessities? Allah prohibited intoxications, alcohol, drugs, because this is necessary to protect your mind. Because if you use intoxications, you can lose your mind temporarily, but you're not conscious. Okay? Education is a necessity for your mind. If you don't educate yourself, your mind will be no longer valid. Your mind will be no longer functioning. You need to educate yourself. Okay? Progeny, okay? To keep it pure, you have to facilitate marriage, because if we have progeny through, out of wedlock, then this is not what we want. So to facilitate marriage is necessary to have a good progeny. Prohibiting unlawful sexual relationships. To facilitate, also this is to protect progeny. To protect wealth. How can people acquire wealth? Through work. So you have to allow people to work. You have to facilitate that people can work. To punish people who will be stealing the wealth. So punishment for thieves, the punishment of thieves is a necessity to protect the wealth. If you don't have a punishment in your law for people who cheat or people who steal, then you're putting this in danger. Needs are things that can make life easier, like for example, internet. It is important for education. It makes education easier. So internet is a need for the mind, but not a necessity. Because without internet, we can still learn, but more difficult. Okay? Maybe when I speak about the luxury, then the luxury will be like having lighter devices that can go to the internet, like iPads. This is a luxury, because with an iPad or with an iPhone, okay, yes, I'm an Fadel, I like Mac. Anyway, so with things, okay, you can go easier to the internet. It's a luxury, but without it, still you have internet, and still you are getting education. Okay. There are 6 golden rules. If you learn them, then you learn the fiqh of priorities, how to choose. Number 1, rule number 1. Priority must be given to a necessity over a need, and to a need over a luxury. So if you are choosing between 2 things, one of them is a necessity, and the other one is a need, you choose the necessity, right? If you're choosing between 2 things, a need over a luxury, then you choose the need, of course. I don't want a question like, if I'm choosing between a necessity and a luxury. Now what do you think? You choose what? Necessity, of course. Okay? Let's take an example. You go to a doctor to consult a doctor, and the doctor tells you to uncover your aura because you are in a medical consultation. He told a woman to uncover a part of her body. He told the man to uncover his aura, which is he has to remove his underwear. Now we have to choose to do this or not. How can we choose? Let's see. Covering the aura is needed, or is it a necessity, or is it a luxury for what of these? Covering the aura is a need for the faith. Okay? A need for your faith. It is not a necessity for the faith, because if you uncover your aura, okay, if you're not wearing properly like Allah said, still you're a Muslim, but it's a need, it's needed. Medical treatment is a necessity for life. So here we are choosing between a need and a necessity. Need for the faith or necessity for life. So what do we choose? Necessity for life. So we choose to uncover the aura when we are consulting a doctor. Of course, this is in case that there is no female doctors for women, for no male doctors for men. Of course, you have to choose a good doctor if maybe the doctor from your gender is not very qualified. You don't have to go to him or to her, and so on. Okay. Besides that, even men, they have their aura, which even other men should not see it. Same thing. So we're still talking about when it's necessity. When a need, you choose the necessity. Right. What if the 2 competing interests that we need to choose from are of the same level, which means both of them are necessities, or both are needs, or both are luxuries? How can we choose? Here, we need to look at the order of the ultimate goals. So if we are choosing between 2 necessities, or 2 needs, or 2 luxuries, we need to see necessity for what? Need for what? Let's take an example. If force is used against you to drink alcohol, someone pulled a gun in your head and he said, if you don't drink alcohol, I'll shoot you in the head. What do you choose? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. You tell him, excuse me, one moment. Drinking is necessary right now to preserve my life. Right? But not drinking is necessity to protect my mind, because if I drink, I will get drunk. And probably if you drink, you will be drunk, because we don't usually drink. So from the first sip, you will be. So here you are choosing between 2 necessities. One of them is necessary for the life, the other one is necessary for the mind. You choose life because life is number 2, mind is number 3. Here, you will have to drink. This is how you choose. Okay? another example. Jihad, combative jihad, fighting for the cause of Allah, fighting to establish justice, to remove oppression, to remove occupation, is needed, okay? But it puts the life of the people who are practicing in danger. So I can go to defend my country, to defend my faith, but I may not come back. So what do I choose? Therefore, this is necessary to protect the faith. Because actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained on us striving for the cause of Allah. He's ordained on us. It's not an option, it's ordained on us. Of course, in some cases, it is an obligation on everyone. If our country is under attack from outside and the occupier entered, the wife will go without even telling her husband to fight in the streets, everyone, kids, everybody. Because our country is now occupied. Okay? So here, striving for the cause of Allah is necessary to protect the faith. But at the same time, not doing it, not striving, not fighting, is necessary to protect life. So now I'm choosing between two necessities. One of them to protect my faith, the other one is to protect my life. I choose the one to protect my faith. So I'll go and fight and establish justice. That's it. Okay? Rule number 3. What if the two competing interests that we have to choose from are of the same level, both are necessities, or both are needs, or both are luxuries, of the same ultimate goal? Now it's getting difficult. Both of them are necessary for faith, or for life, or for mind, or for project. How can I choose? Here, I need to see what is the interest of the public, and I give it priority over the interest of the individual. What is the group interest? Should be given more priority than an individual. If an enemy is using a number of Muslims as human shields, and he's attacking the country, do we shoot at the enemy? If we shoot at the enemy, we will definitely kill some of our brothers and sisters who are taken as human shields. If we don't, we're all lost. The country will be lost. They will invade the country. And they don't stay for a year or two. Actually, in Egypt, we tried the British 77 years. It's not easy. So the issue is, what do we do? Here, we find that fighting or shooting at them is necessary to protect the life of so many people. But not fighting or not shooting at the enemy is protecting the life of few people, those who are taken as human shields. Here, we give priority to the protection of the many people over the protection of the few people. See, we are comparing between two necessities for life. Rule number 4. If you are given a choice between two evils, what do you choose? You have to choose one of them. And both are evil. Choose the lesser evil. Sometimes you have to choose. And for example, there's an impure medication. Medication that has alcohol in it. Or maybe some extracts from the swine, the pig. And there is no other choice. There isn't any other medication except this. Impure medication. If you don't take it, you can become more ill. You have to choose the lesser evil, which is to take the medication. So taking the impure medication is less harmful. You take it. Because abstaining from taking the medication is a greater harm. Surah Al-Kahf. We find that Moses, peace be upon him, and the righteous servant of Allah, whom in Al-Tafsir, his name is Al-Khidr, no one wanted to take them on their boat, except some poor fishermen. They took them, they hosted them on the boat, they didn't even ask them for anything in return, any money, for free ride. And then what happened? The man made a hole in the boat. And Prophet Moses was surprised. How come you do this? And then he told them, I did it because I was inspired by Allah that I got information that there is an unjust king behind them, confiscating every boat and every ship that he finds. So I made a hole which is not big enough to make the ship drown, but it's big enough to make the king lose interest in this defected boat. So what he did is that he did a small evil that he can use to avoid a bigger evil. So sometimes you may need to choose at certain times between lesser evil and bigger evil. You need to understand which is less and which is good. Okay? So the harm of defecting the ship is lesser than the harm of losing it forever. Okay? Rule number 5. If an interest and an evil mix together, how do we choose? Yani, I have to do something that there is evil in it and interest at the same time. We used to learn before that since there is evil, then don't go through it. But this is not right. That preventing the evil is more important than bringing the benefit, which is not accurate. Because here we have to see the weight of the evil and the weight of the benefit. If we weigh them and we find that the weight of the evil is much less than the benefit, so we can do a little evil to bring a huge benefit. For example, here, this is what, okay. God Almighty said, يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. They ask you about intoxicants and gambling, about wine and gambling. Say in them there is a great sin and some profits for people, but their sin is greater than their profit. So the sin in them is much greater than the benefit. Since the evil in them is much bigger than the benefit, then wine and gambling are forbidden. Yes, there are some benefits in gambling. If you open a casino, you can become a millionaire. So that's a benefit. Maybe you can win once. That's a benefit. But the harm in them is much bigger because you can lose all your wealth. Too. And most gamblers, they know what I say. So the harm is bigger. The harm in drinking is bigger than some trade that can bring few people some money. Many people who become drunkards, they lost their life. So it's better to stay away from it. Peace be upon him. He had some people who are hypocrites, and the hypocrites is not what we need today. Someone who just says something that he doesn't believe in. No, it's at the time of Prophet Muhammad, those were kuffar, who pretend to be Muslims. And in the Muslim community, they were doing a lot of turbulence. So for example, they said a lot of terrible things about Lady Aisha, about many of the Sahaba, and they caused a lot of turbulence. He had the option to get rid of them, to execute them. They are traitors, they are betrayers. But people look at them as Sahaba. They are in the Muslim community. So when he was told, Prophet of Allah, let's execute them. They harmed us a lot. They caused a lot of turbulence. The Sahaba were about to fight with each other because of them, some of their fitna. And the Prophet said, no, lest people say that Muhammad is killing his companions. But they are not companions, but the people see them as companions. So the Prophet here weighed the evil and the benefit. You know that the benefit of getting rid of 10 or 12 people is much less than the evil. But the evil here is to tarnish the image of Islam, to give a weapon to Islamophobes to use against us. And this is one of the causes of Islamophobia today. The misrepresentation of Islam. We are not representing Islam properly. So they are using it against us. The Prophet was so careful with everything that he does, so that he doesn't give it as a weapon to the non-Muslims to fight Islam with it. During the controversy of the creation of the Quran, as I said in the beginning of the lecture, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal chose to go through the torture, even if this will lead him to lose his life. But he's one person. Because the evil in him, tortured, is much less than the evil of hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of people who are following him to deviate. So we had to choose between the benefit and the harm. Okay? So the harm of his suffering is much less than the harm of people deviating. Rule number 6. If the interest and the evil mix together, and when we weigh the value of the evil and the interest, we find that the interest is big, is huge, while the harm is minimal. The harm is very small. We should give priority to seeking the interest rather than avoiding the evil. For example, if you know that one of the big things that are haram in our religion is to lie. We cannot tell lies, except in 3 cases. What? Can a Muslim tell a lie? Yes, in 3 cases. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, if he is reconciling between 2 people who quarreled or who are quarreling, the Prophet said he's not lying like that. He is growing good relations between them. Which means, if 2 brothers had a problem between them, so I go to one of them and I tell them, actually, I spoke to him and he respects you so much. Actually, when I talk to him, he doesn't really respect. So when I said he respects you so much, it's just that you did something little. If you just change it, we will be able to fix it. So he says, okay. Then I go to the other one and said, you don't know how he talked about you. This is lies. This is a lie. But what am I doing? Reconciling between people. This is allowed. In this case, it's allowed. Second, to please your spouse. You can lie. Yes. Well, if you tell your wife, you're the most beautiful woman. It's a lie. Yeah, probably it's a lie. 99% it's a lie. Yeah, no. If you tell your wife you are beautiful, that's not a lie. But when you tell her you are the most beautiful woman in the world, you will be rewarded by God. That's a compliment. Same thing. When you tell him, wow, you know what? You're more handsome than Tom Cruise. It's a lie. Probably. But the issue is, it's a compliment. If you tell your wife, you know what? Your cooking is the best cooking in the world. While actually, you are doing jihad to eat it. This is a compliment. That's not a lie. That's a compliment. Here it's allowed. It's a little evil, but it brings a lot of benefit. It brings a lot of reconciliation between people, love in the hearts, and so on. People love to hear good things. Most of the good things that we may tell our spouses are lies, but to please them. Doesn't mean that the life of people should be all lies. No, of course not. But it's in the area of compliments. Okay. The third thing is to lie during the war, to deceive the enemy, camouflage. Okay. When I in war they wear certain suits, and on the suits there is some green leaves and branches of trees. That's a lie. I'm not a tree. I'm not a tree, but I'm deceiving the enemy. Same thing. Sadat, before the war in 1973, in which the Muslims won Israel in 1973, before the war, he announced that the 6th of October there will be a celebration, okay? And he even gave some officers that day off, okay? And of course the Israeli intelligence was gathering information, so they felt like the 6th of October the Egyptians are not fighting. And the fight was decided to be, the first strike was at 2 p.m. that day. And he made some soldiers go out and play football, and the Israelis were looking with their binoculars, seeing the Egyptians. Some are taking days off, some are playing soccer, so probably today, and it's 2 p.m. already, there's no fighting today. That was a lie. But it's allowed. So those are 3 cases where a Muslim can lie. Other than those 3, there is no chance to lie, because the benefit is big. Okay? We know the story of the boy and the king. The king, this is a story from the Sunnah, who wanted to kill that boy, who went to a monk, and he taught him the religion, Islam, okay, before Prophet Muhammad. So the real followers of Jesus were the Muslims of that time. And the king was someone who rejected Jesus as a prophet. And he wanted the boy to enter in his religion. Okay. So the boy told him, I'm not going to quit. He said, then I'll kill you. He said, you know what? I will allow you to do so, but you will see that you won't be able to do that. So the king was shooting at him the arrows, and they all go he was unable to kill him at all. He sent him with some people to throw him from above a mountain. The mountain shook, and the people fell down, and he came back on his feet to the king. He sent him with some people to throw him in the sea, and they drowned, and he came back swimming to the king. So, no way. He told them, you cannot kill me except if you say, Bismillah Rabbil Ghulam. In the name of Allah, the Lord of the boy. If you say it, you will be able to kill me. He said, okay, then I'll say it. He said, no, in public. If you say it in public, you will be able to kill me. So the stupid king did it. In public, he did that, and he killed the boy. The arrow hit him, but all the people became Muslim. So the issue is, what did this boy do? He compared between his life as an individual and the faith of so many people. So he sacrificed himself. This is why we see that people can sometimes sacrifice themselves for the interest of the public. So he compared between the interest of an entire community, okay, accepting faith, and the interest of him, or the evil of him losing his life. The evil of one person losing his life is much less than I only need 5 minutes from now. Okay? Under conditions of torture and extreme oppression, a Muslim is allowed to pretend to be a disbeliever. As we said, Ammar Mosque did that. He pretended to be a disbeliever. Okay? The evil in saying a word of kufr while your heart is full of faith is much less than losing your life. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ in Al-Hudaybiyah, okay, there was this peace treaty between the Muslims and the Meccans, which will bring truce for 10 years. 10 years of no war. And the Prophet likes peace, and he needed this treaty so much. But there was a problem. Why? The Kuffar said, we are not going to sign after all these negotiations, because you started by Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We don't know Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, we only know Allah. So they said, just write Bismika Allahum, which means Bismillah, only, without Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ali ibn Abi Talib was crying, he said, I will never erase it. So the Prophet said, show me where it is. And the Prophet erased it himself. What else? They said, you said that this treaty is between two parties. So and so from Quraysh, and so Muhammad Rasulullah. If we know that you are Rasulullah, we won't go through a treaty with you. We will be believing in you. Just say Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, no way, I'm not going to erase it. He said, show me where it is, I will erase it. And the Prophet erased it. Well, erasing that he is the messenger of Allah and erasing two names of Allah from a treaty because the Muslims needed so much. Today's politics, in politics, we need it now. So he did it. Okay? So the evil in removing it is not comparable, not something that cannot be compared to the benefit of having this peace treaty. A huge interest. A Muslim is allowed to run for office in a non-Muslim country. Where is this? Prophet Yusuf, he ran for office in a non-Muslim country. And he asked the king to make him the treasury, the head of the treasury department. Why? He knows, Ibn Taymiyyah said, he knows that he won't be able to spread the religion of Allah to all people. But at least now a Muslim is more influential. At least he will not, he knows that he won't be able alone as an individual to end corruption completely, but at least he can minimize it. So here he ran for office in a non-Muslim country. And he asked to be the head of the treasury department. Now the only thing that I need to say is, sometimes the problem is when we call things differently. So we call bribes being an open-minded, or gifts. They are not gifts. Things like that. For example, yesterday we spoke about homosexuality. And I was happy that it was called homosexuality, because some other people call it gays. And I always refuse this word. Say, call it scientifically homosexuality. Don't say gays. The word gay in the English language means happy. Happy. I'm reading the discussion board of one of those organizations since more than 10 years. Every like a week, I visit and I read. Believe me, over 95% of them suffer from depression. Okay, then don't call yourself gay if you're depressed. So the issue is, let's use the exact word that describe the thing in order to be able to choose. But if we call bribes gifts, then the Prophet said, give gifts to each other. You understand? You have to call things right. For example, spirits. These are what? These are drinks that when people drink, they beat up their wives. And they do accidents. And they're not allowed to drink it and work. They're not allowed to drink it and drive. Then why do you call it spirits? No one is more spiritual when he drinks it. Understand? So I'm not saying call it demons. But at the same time, let's call things with the true, with the word that can truly explain the issue. If we don't call it right, then we won't be able to choose well. This is maybe the last thing that I have today. I think we have to break right now, right, Ya Wael, for, you come and take the microphone and tell them what we need to do.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. Let's give Sheikh Fadel a big hand of thank you for this very, very enlightening topic, mashallah. Now we will get ready for Aisha. Aisha prayer is about to be announced at 7:20, Sheikh? 7:20, is it? So inshallah, let us have these few minutes to get ready for wudu. Inshallah, after the salah, there will be outside simple dinner, inshallah, but delicious, very delicious, inshallah. So get ready to have something after the salah, and let the ladies please go and eat first. The brothers maybe. And then after that, inshallah, we will open the floor for question answer.
So is it like 8 o'clock we start the discussion?
Yeah, we will start at 8 o'clock. Sure. 1 hour, 1 whole hour for question answer. Get your questions ready, inshallah. Sheikh Fadel will be with us until 9 o'clock. And don't forget that tomorrow, inshallah, at Moot Court building in Hong Kong University, Sheikh Fadel Soliman will be delivering his last topic during this visit, inshallah. Islamophobia and Islamophobes in Moot Court building in Hong Kong University. All are welcome. It's free for all. Jazakumullah khairan. See you inshallah after the salah. Assalamu alaikum. Have a question, then you are a scholar.
I always say ladies first and an Egyptian first. Is there any Egyptian lady here? The first hand.
You have a question?
The first hand that was raised.
I want to ask about the priorities.
About priorities?
Yeah.
Okay.
The mic.
About the Hajj.
Hajj.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, if I plan to make a Hajj, I will spend all my money. And now I don't have any salary to live or something like this. Another question only for the boy, one of my brothers, he wants to marry and he wants to make Hajj, so which is important.
Good.
Thank you.
Look, Hajj is an obligation. But it's not like any obligation. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So it should be given priority. Hajj is not an obligation on those who cannot afford. So if you can afford to do Hajj, then you have to do Hajj. You can afford to do Hajj or something else. What is the else? What is the other thing? If doing Hajj will exhaust all your money, so you will become poor, then don't do Hajj. So it's only on those who can afford it, which means they can do it and come back and still find a source of living and find. So this is the issue. But comparing between Hajj and marriage, Hajj comes first. There's no comparison. Okay? And Allah returns this money back by experience. Double, triple, multiplied by 10 in this life. You will find a lot of blessings. What else?
Any more questions?
But Hajj for the second time? No, of course. Here, this is not an obligation. Okay, about the first time. No. What else?
Do we have more questions?
Here.
Yes.
Like you say, sometimes few lies are okay. Okay, like.
No, I never said so. I never said so. Don't put words in my mouth. Never lies are okay except in 3 cases. You see, the hadith is clear. Lies are not allowed except in 3 cases. And those are the 3 cases that are mentioned by the Prophet. That's not good news for you.
but still I like to ask that question. I know it's difficult, but still. Like we are doing business, and sometimes few things we have to tell lie in a way. Like say like shipment maybe not in 10 days, maybe another 10 days, 20 days, but we say, oh, we did 10 days. So these are simple lies, but it's a difficult lies. And we have to say, and now I've done that, and if I do this, it's more serious.
You know that I'm an engineer, which is not the profession of Prophet Muhammad. But you work in trade, and that was the profession of Prophet Muhammad. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose his final prophet, he chose a businessman like you. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that التاجر الصدوق, which means the truthful businessman on the day of judgment, if he's truthful, he will be with in the level of prophets and martyrs and Siddiqeen, which means saints. So a truthful, because it's hard to be truthful and a businessman. But this is your challenge. This is your challenge. Every one of us has his or her challenge in this life. This is your challenge. You are in a test. The shipment, but there are ways to say things that can say, for example, the shipment may arrive in 10 days. May. But don't say it will arrive in 10 days if you know that it's not arriving in 10 days. Say, maybe it arrives in 10 days. You look, I was a businessman one day too. And one of the challenges, because I was working in the marketing field. Marketers lie a lot. Wrong. Don't even exaggerate. You know that who was the head of the market at the time of Umar ibn Khattab, the second caliph after the Prophet ﷺ? A woman, Lady Al-Shifa bint Abdullah. Okay? So she was in the charge of the market. She used to go and test the merchants if they know fiqh al-buyu' or not. The ilm, the science, the branch of knowledge about dealings, about trade. If they don't know it, she shuts down their stores until they go and they learn. When you buy something from a store in the States, Best Buy for example, something for $5, they give you a long receipt like that. On the back of the receipt, if you read this is the agreement between you and the store, nearly 100% matching with fiqh al-buyu' that we have. What are your rights and what are the rights of the store? Until when you can return, until when you can exchange, what and on what basis? Beautiful. This is your challenge as a businessman, to be trustworthy and truthful. And don't exaggerate even. And you know what? According to fiqh al-buyu' in Islam, you have to speak about, or you have to present the defects of your, and the shortcomings of your merchandise before you even show the benefits from it and their specifications. And I know someone who worked in this area in Egypt for a while, and there was a lot of corruption. You can't sell to the government except if you bribe people. And he refused to bribe, and it was hard for him and his company for about 2 years. And then guess what happened? After 2 years, his company boomed, and he got like 20% of the market share. There are like 100 companies working in this field, and he only his company became number 2, actually. He got like 20% market share. Why? Because by time, the reputation of this company became that this is the company which is owned by Mr. So-and-so, Haji Fulan. People are making fun of him. The man who doesn't bribe. So he will go bankrupt very soon. Because of this reputation, corrupt people in the government were buying once with bribery and once without from him to clear themselves and prove that they are clean. We deal with this company. It's a clean company. They don't brag. Say, I'm clean. So they buy few times from other companies and once from him. Few times and once from him. By that is bullying for being. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. He said, الآية اللي هي يجعل له مخرجا وما يتقي الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب. The one who seeks or the one who fears Allah, okay? يجعل له مخرجا means Allah will find a way for him. And يرزقه, give him rizq, give him sustenance من حيث لا يحتسب, which means from places or from ways that he never imagined. So Allah, you will never imagine. Allah will never put his sustenance in haram. If you, I was telling one of the brothers that when we made the first documentary, we needed a license in Egypt, and the institution that is issuing this license, yeah, they told my employee that it will take like 15 days to receive the license. And then the man told him, but if you put here in this drawer 500 pounds, you can have it tonight. So the guy came back and he told me, they asked me for 500 pounds and we receive it tonight. We don't wait for 15 days. I said, why didn't you act upon? Act upon how? I said, don't you know how? I said, no, I don't know how. I said, come with me, I'll show you what to do. He came with me, we went, we entered. I said, where is the top management here? Who's here? They said, the director is on the 3rd floor. I went to the 3rd floor and my employee was dragging me from my hands. What are you going to do? What are you doing? If you say it, maybe the guy will go to jail. I said, yes, well, jails are made for people like him. He said, but it's haram to know. What I'm doing is not haram. What he's doing is haram. I said, did you lie to me or did they really ask you for 5 months? No, they really asked me. He said, okay, come, I'll show you what to do. I went to the manager and I said, we came here and someone asked us to give him money, 500 pounds, and we received the license tonight. I said, how come? Bring me his file. They brought me his file. They brought him my file. He opened it. He signed everything. Within exactly half an hour, we got our license. At the same day we got it without paying. So the issue is my risk, Allah fated that I get it that day. If we rush, we get it from haram. If you wait a little bit and put your trust in Allah, you get it from halal. Keep this in mind always. This is a challenge. We are living in a very challenging world because it is a challenge. Some people come to me and they say, why did Allah ask me before He creates me? I didn't want to come to this world. You say, why? I say, because I'm not happy. Who told you that you have to be happy? No, really. Some people think that we should be happy in this world. No, excuse me. Allah could have created us in a theme park like Disneyland edition. Every year, I'm invited in Manchester, in the UK, by a non-Muslim group to come and address them about the topic in their annual meeting or something, celebration. In 2009, they told me the topic this year that we wish to talk about is Islamic Sharia. So what? Why do you want me to talk about Sharia in the UK and you're non-Muslims? And then I found out that the Archbishop of Canterbury, Robert Williams, he spoke about Islamic Sharia that year, and he said that I think we should allow Muslims to apply their Sharia in the UK. And the whole media went against him, people went against him, and I said that I think this man was trying to integrate Muslims, to make them feel that they are free in their country. They can apply their own legislation on them. So when I went, I started my lecture by asking them, when I say the word Sharia, what is the first thing that comes to your minds? So they laughed and they said, cutting off hands. So But Sharia doesn't only prohibit theft. It also prohibits other things like securitization and selling loans by loans. Those are the two things that, because of them, in 2009, in the recession, 20 million people lost their jobs in Europe and in the States. Selling loans by loans, and something, it's a practice in the stock market called securitization. And I took the book called the IOFI Standards in my hand. Said, see, these are the IOFI standards, the standards of the Islamic economy. So we have to establish our Islamic economy. And we cannot work alone. We have to work with them. We may get involved in some riba, but the issue is planning to get out from it and to establish our economy, and our economy becomes bigger and dominating and then helping others. This is what we should actually do. Sorry, I turned it on during the break. That's
okay.
okay.
Any more questions? Sisters have any question on the other side? Okay, we'll take one question from the sisters.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I think you raised a very good issue about prioritization and evil and interest, and this is a generic question about the community. In every country that I've visited, there always seems to be a lot of challenges with the community leaders, especially the Islamic community leaders. When they come into a point of power, they don't always represent the best interests of Islam or the people. What is the responsibility of the community to rise up? So I'll just give you an example. If the community leaders, for example, are collecting funds and they're not transparent with what they do with those funds, which are meant to be distributed for the benefit of the Muslims in the community, I mean, what is the responsibility for the Muslims in that community to make things right?
Well, this small community is, if we're not successful in establishing this small community, so how come we will be able to establish a bigger community called the Islamic State if we want? So if we fail in establishing a small community, how come we dream of something better than this or bigger than this? So we have to reform, we have to advise, and we have to elect our leaders, of course. You have to elect your leaders. Elect. If there are elections, and you don't go to the elections, then don't blame except yourselves. If you don't do a block vote, if you don't gather people and go to the elections with the opinion or with a certain, so this democratic way is also Islamic, by the way. And voting was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet, peace be upon him, allowed women to vote too.
Counter question.
Okay, another question. Okay.
Sorry, it's my fault. I should be more specific. I was talking about running Islamic organizations within.
That's what I said. Islamic organization should be based on democratic ways of electing their leaders.
And if there is no democratic way offered,
Found an organization that offers democratic ways of electing their leaders and support it.
great, thank you.
Serving Islam team offers a democratic way, by the way. Brother, you have something? Okay, just come. Sorry.
Excuse me. It's actually on your last slides about definition. About definition, which I think is related to the lies. Is that true?
The what?
The last
Yeah, it's about naming things differently from what it really is.
Okay. Incidentally, way back in late 80s, I was in the United States, and there was a book actually written by an ex-army. It's titled Doublespeak. About using a book with a title Doublespeak. It's actually about using different words for different things. Like you mentioned about interest.
Interest, yes.
So actually in our usual life, there are a lot of definitions that we use which try to alleviate certain concerns, like right sizing when you are trying to get rid of people.
Mm.
So what's your opinion about using these double-speak words, trying to balance certain things or to alleviate certain things, but you're actually doing things that may not be right?
I spoke about this. I spoke about it, that if you don't name things with the right name that describes the thing itself, you won't be able to deal with it properly. If you beautify things that are not beautiful, then they will always stay. That's what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said. He said, if you see something wrong, change it with your hand. If you are unable to do that, which means not authorized to change it with your hand, then speak against it. If you are unable to do that either, then feel bad about it in your heart. But let know that this is the weakest form of faith, which means don't change its name. Because if you change its name, you will feel good about it. You will never be able to change it later on. Always know that this is evil. One day I will change it. One day we should not get accustomed to evil.
Yeah. It's like Sheikh, some people say, let's go for a drink.
For a what?
For a drink.
Drink. It's a drink.
Here when they use that term, it means let's go drink alcohol.
Yeah, no, we can use it also for drinking karkade or anything.
Then how can you practice al-wala wal-bara?
Al-wala wal-bara is something that you practice in your heart. It's not something that you practice outside. And through this al-wala wal-bara, many crimes are committed under the banner of al-wala wal-bara. Al-wala wal-bara is that I feel that I belong to the religion of Allah, and all the people who belong to this religion are my brothers and sisters. Anyone else is not. When I clear myself from any religion other than the religion of Islam. But this doesn't mean that there is no other levels of brotherhood. Because some people think that al-Muslim akhul Muslim. According to Prophet Muhammad, a Muslim is a brother of a Muslim, right? But he didn't say that he is not the brother of others. He didn't say so. And in the Quran, I can show you more than 20 verses that are acknowledging brotherhood between Muslims and non-Muslims. وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا. And to the people of Ad, they are pagans. I sent their brother Hud, one of the prophets of God, a Muslim. Okay? وَإِلَىٰ مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا. And to the people of Madian, I sent their brother Shu'aib. وَإِذْ قَالَ لَهُمْ أَخُوهُمْ نُوحٍ. And remember when their brother Noah told them, okay? إِذْ قَالَ لَهُمْ أَخُوهُمْ لُوط. And their brother Lot told them. So he's acknowledging the brother between Lot and pagans who are homosexuals. So there is a level of brotherhood in religion. This is the biggest knot, biggest tie. Comes then brotherhood in being citizens of one country. This is a brotherhood, okay? Comes then brotherhood in humanity. That's why when if people who are non-Muslims and not from our country, so the first two ties are not between us, they come to invade our country and we fight them and some of them are killed, Allah made it an obligation on you to bury them like you bury your dead. Why? Because they are your brothers in humanity. You don't leave them to the hyena to eat them or for the eagles to eat them. So there are levels of brotherhood, but this is the first level, which is being brothers and sisters in Islam. I clear myself from any other religion that worships other things besides Allah.
Okay. Brother, if a community is led by an imam, if a community is led by an imam that is practicing some practices such as al-madad, ya so and so, or worshipping graves, is it allowed to accommodate such things, or brothers who are not of the view can form their own jamaat or protest against this one? The moment he is an imam, he is not just a simple, ordinary follower in the masjid.
Well, of course, it is better that someone has a pure creed, pure aqidah, to lead the jama'ah. But if this is the one, debate people, tell them, either we or you are on the right track, or we or you are in plain error. Which means We are open to find the truth. Allah told Prophet Muhammad when he debated against Christians, the Christians of Najran, when they came to the mosque of the Prophet in Medina, he told them to start by saying, قُلْ إِن كَانَ لِلَّهِ وَلَدٌ فَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْعَابِدِينَ. Say, O Muhammad, tell them, if Allah has a son, then I'll be the first one to worship him. So this is the issue. We are seekers of the truth. We don't want to win. So debate against this Imam in public. Tell him, we call you for a debate. Let him bring his evidence, and you bring your evidence that this is wrong, and he will try to prove that it's right. But let us have an arbitrator, and let us say that if you prove your point, continue. If we prove our point, please stop it. So there are ways other than fighting and shouting.
Okay, let us have next question from the sister side. Any sister have any question? Okay.
You are talking about that jihad is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For 3 years embracing Islam, I've already heard these issues. Why I never see a powerful Muslim nation to save our Palestinian brothers and sisters?
Jazakumullah khair. Well, that's why you see that there is something called the Arab Spring. I want to tell you that at the first day, actually, it's not the first, the third day, which was the biggest day. It was the 28th of January, and that was called Jum'at al-Ghadab, the Friday of anger. I was telling the brothers and the sisters with me, of Bridges Foundation, who all went to the protest, and when it became very violent, and we were stoned with tear gas, some were shot, we have seen people dying around us everywhere. I fainted actually also because of the tear gas. I told them, you have to stand up for the truth and be more courageous. Don't leave now, because what is happening right now is not the liberation of Egypt. It is the liberation of Palestine. And I was reading the Israeli media during the 18 days of the Egyptian revolution. And I had seen someone like Galad At-Simon saying, I wish that Israel doesn't burn the world with it. So they were looking at what's happening in Egypt, that if it happens in Egypt and it goes well, and then it starts to happen all around Israel, then this is the end. We don't want to end anyone. We have 6 million people who are in diaspora, okay, and they are not allowed to come back. And when George Bush said they should not be allowed the right of return, he was applauded in the United Nations. And I don't know how come people are applauding for something unethical like that. The man is speaking something very unethical, that the refugees should not be allowed the right to return. What do you mean? What I have to return? And I'm against the two-state the solution. I'm with the one-state solution. One state, Jews and Muslims and Christians. Let the best man win in a democratic state. Isn't this fair? We are saying now, welcome those Jews who are there, they are welcome, but allow the rest of the refugees to come back and let it be one state where all of them can live together. But they never accept this. This is the issue. Don't worry, inshallah, things are changing and changing to the better, inshallah. The problem is with the revolutions that are happening today in the Muslim world is that, of course, the enemies of these revolutions are not, sleeping. They are working inside every revolution, trying to destroy it from inside.
Any more questions, inshallah? Somebody behind the pillar?
You forgot your question?
I read that, but
That's you.
They're asking you, and we're looking at you.
You are reading me.
Yes, yalla eid. Yalla eid. Finally, alhamdulillah.
My question is about your presentation. There's one, the ayah from the Quran you quoted that يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ. And then you draw a conclusion when the benefit is more than its evil, then it can be adopted. But I am understanding that after that verse was revealed, that categorically forbidden the alcohol.
Yes, of course.
As well. But then how can that order that was given previously, we can, put on this situation, because it clearly says, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنْصَابُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ.
Yes.
So that's my...
Okay, Jazakallah.
Because that was previous.
I'll tell you what the brother is saying. Actually, when Allah prohibited alcohol, and by the way Islam prohibited alcohol is genius. You know that in the States, alcohol was prohibited in the 20th century. But it was a disaster. And the smuggling increased and the corruption increased because only two professions were able to buy alcohol. Priests. Yes, because it's used in worship, in the Eucharist, okay? And doctors, because they can say that it cures from some things, okay? So people started to bribe those two and to make them buy for them bottles, and smuggling increases. How Islam dealt with this? Gradually. Number one, Islam mentioned the khamr, the intoxicants, without speaking ill against it at all, but just this attaching it from good provision, saying that Allah provides for us out of the plants sakaran wa rizqan hasanan. Sakara means intoxicants and good provision. So it mentioned it away from good provision, but without speaking against it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O you who believe, until that moment, Sahaba were drinking, hungry. He said, do not approach prayers when you are drunk, so that you may understand what you say. So the Sahaba had to wait until Isha. Isha, it is the sunnah of the Prophet not to pray Isha on time, but to postpone it for about 2 hours and then go all of us and pray, so that there can be between Maghrib and Isha like 3 hours. So like that, the Sahaba were unable to drink except after Isha at about 11 p.m. Okay? And they cannot drink much because they will wake up at 4 and go to pray Fajr. So like that, the amount of alcohol in their blood decreased a lot. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They ask you about wine and gambling. Say in them there are some benefits and some harm, but the harm is much bigger than the benefits. Okay? So like that, after they were ready physically, because the percentage of alcohol in their blood decreased, and now also psychologically, when Allah told them, it's not always good, most of the time it's bad for you, the harm is much bigger than this, they became ready for the prohibition, total prohibition. And then Allah descended the verse that He said, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسُرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْنَامُ. He said, wine and gambling and fortune telling and worshipping idols are unclean, and they are the work of the devil. Stay away from it. So everybody were out just spitting the alcohol that they have. Had this verse descend on the first day, maybe most of them could have never stayed away from it because they were unready, physically and psychologically. So gradually, things were ordained on Muslims. Okay? Here, what I'm bringing is, I'm telling you that the Quran acknowledges that the khamr has some benefits, and still the Quran prohibited it at the end. So I'm telling you, the Quran prohibited something that had some benefits. Until today, there are benefits in it. You understand me?
I understand you, but my question is, that was the process when the revelations were still coming. But when the final revelation on this subject is come, then this process cannot be reapplied.
I'm not speaking about the process. I'm not saying that. I'm not speaking about that it was.
Gradual process.
I'm not speaking about the gradual process. I'm saying the Quran prohibited something, and the Quran itself is saying that it has some benefits. Why? Because the harm is bigger. So I'm just showing how the Quran dealt with things that can have benefits, but still it was made haram because it is more harmful. That's it. Priorities. That's it.
Any more questions, inshallah? We are running out of time. One question for brothers.
Assalamu alaikum. We are in the blood month of Muharram.
Yes.
Can you say something about the fasting of Ashura and the people can aware of it?
Good. We need to understand something. I'll talk about fasting actually, because one of the misconceptions on Islam is that fasting is unhealthy. Why would anyone abstain from eating and drinking, especially drinking water? This is unhealthy. People should drink always. You guys will dehydrate, and what this, all this propaganda against Islam. Number one, Muslims abstain from eating, drinking, and any sexual act from dawn until sunset. So this is an act of controlling oneself, controlling the desires, controlling the stomach and the lower self. Okay? At sunset, one can practice any of that again. Next day, control, practice. So it's a ritual of worship that enhances your patience and perseverance through the discipline. But who said that we should only fast in Ramadan? Ramadan is like a big training camp of 30 days. But you should not stay without fasting until the next Ramadan. We have extra good deeds that we should do. Mondays, Thursdays, or there is the fasting of Prophet David, which is every other day, and there is the 3 days in the middle of the lunar month. But you have to understand that these extra days of fasting, they are nawafil, which means extra good deeds. They are not an obligation, which means that they should be done secretly. You should not tell people that you're fasting. Why? Because it is for the sake of Allah, not to show off. People are showing off by fasting after Ramadan, by giving charity, by, excuse me, if this is really for the sake of Allah, keep it a secret. When you pray in the mosque, okay, don't pray the sunnah in the mosque. Go and pray it at home, as Prophet Muhammad said. Don't let your homes be like tombs and graves. No, pray at home. And look, people will look at you after Maghrib like, oh, he stopped praying sunnah. You have to bear this in your heart. Don't tell them that you pray at home. Why? It is for the sake of Allah. Look, Allah doesn't care about the ibadah that you do, about the worship that you do. Allah cares about the sincerity in your heart when you do it. And the shaitan also, Satan also doesn't care if you worship or not, but the shaitan wants you to worship without sincerity. You know what? The shaitan will be very happy if you go to pray in a certain mosque, because there's a businessman who goes to this mosque, and you want him to see you praying in this mosque, to know that you are a devout Muslim, and because tomorrow you will visit him in his office to sign a contract or sell him something. Then those 2 rak'ahs that you prayed there are not for Allah, it's for this businessman. The shaitan will be very happy with those 2 rak'ahs. That's what Allah said in the Quran. Allah said about the sacrifice that we do in the day of Eid. He said, Allah doesn't eat from its flesh or drink from its blood. Allah wants your sincerity. Are you sincere or not? So this is the issue. When you fast extra days, don't tell people. You know that these days I have an 8 weeks workshop in Egypt called the purification of the soul. We train people, and I train myself also with them, to be sincere and not to be arrogant. So we do things to train ourselves. One of the things is we have a homework every week to fast at least 2 days without anyone knowing. And as soon as anyone knows that I am fasting, I will take a glass of water and I will drink it on spot, even if it's 5 minutes before Maghrib. So I will learn how to hide it from people. I will learn, when someone offers you a chocolate and you're fasting, don't say, I'm fasting, thank you very much. Say, thank you, I can't. Thank you, I don't. Thank you, I don't want. Thank you. Take it and put it in your hot pocket. But don't tell him that you're fasting. It's hard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said what? He said, all of the good deeds that the son of Adam does are for himself, except fasting. It's totally for me, and I'm the one who rewards. Why? Because when I see you praying, I know that you're praying, so you get some credit in my eyes. But when I see you now, I don't know if you're fasting or not. Everyone is just having his mouth shut before Maghrib. How can I know if you're fasting or not? This is between you and Allah. Don't disclose this secret. Have secrets between you and Allah. This is the beauty. Also, those who do Qiyamul Layl, those who pray at night, extra prayers, okay? When you do this, you know how the Sahaba used to do this? The companions of the Prophet used to wait until they are sure that their spouses are sleeping deeply. So they walk out on their toes and they pray. So that no one will know that they prayed. Yes, of course, when you are an example for some people, like your little brothers, your sons, let them know some things so as to do like you, but let them not know everything. You should always have secrets between you and Allah, and this is the sweetness of Iman. You will never taste the sweetness of Iman, of faith, except when you have secrets between you and Allah. Not even your spouse can know it. No one. The closest to you should be Allah. And otherwise, you did not reach that true level of Iman. The day of Ashura and the day before it should be also actually fasted. Okay? We should fast them in the day of Ashura. And the Prophet said that there's a big reward in this. But when you do this, don't go and tell people to.
Okay. Sheikh, I know it's very difficult for us to invite you for 8 weeks to train us on the purification of soul workshop. But what if we invited you for a couple of days so that you may introduce to us this workshop, and then the brother and sister may follow with us the homework that you will give us, inshallah. Would that work? Please.
Actually, this sounds like you're inviting me to go from Cairo to Alexandria. Very simple. How we invite you to come for 2 days? Akhi, you can give them this workshop, inshallah, and I'll be doing some things with you, and you will, inshallah, be able to give this workshop, inshallah. Inshallah. Because I know Brother Wa'il, and I know that, inshallah, he'll be able to do this, inshallah. But because before this one, there's another one which is more important. It's called the purification of the heart, which is how to charge your heart with Iman. Look, sometimes we see people with beards, or have ilm, or memorizers of the whole Quran, but they do many wrong things. Why? Because they had ilm, knowledge, but they don't have Iman enough in their hearts. Okay? So Allah give us minds, brains, okay? Allah give us hearts, Allah give us souls, and Allah give us bodies. Every one of those four, Allah give it to us either weak or empty. And Allah give us the tools to fill it up or to strengthen it. So the empty minds that Allah gave to us, He gave us tools to fill it up with knowledge. But that's not enough. Allah gave us hearts that are ready for Iman. If we don't charge it, then you blame yourself. How to charge your heart with Iman? How do you charge your mobile? You put it on the charger for an hour every day, right? You put your heart on a charger for an hour every day. What is the charger? The Quran. The Quran. Every single day, you recite the Quran with understanding, with reflection. You reflect upon the meanings. If your Arabic is not good enough, read the meanings of the Quran in your language and reflect upon it. This will purify your heart. Many people found guidance to Islam through reading the Quran. Which Quran do you think? The true Quran? The Arabic Quran? No, they read the translation, which is 80% accurate, 90% accurate. Suhaib Webb, he was a DJ. He's now #1 in America. The best Imam in America. Less than 40 years old now, or maybe he's 38 years old now. And he was a DJ one day. And he's very knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable. This is through what? Through reading the English translation of the Quran. Dr. David Liepert in Canada, who was actually a missionary, and he was inviting the Muslim doctors with him in the hospital. So he said, let me read my book first before I start, and then he read his book, and then he became Muslim. And then he read the Quran, and then he became Muslim. So the issue is, you have to read the Quran with reflection upon the meanings every single day for 1 hour. This will purify your heart. But you can become arrogant because of that. Alhamdulillah, I fast every week, and I read the Quran 1 hour every day. Oh, you will start looking at yourself like you have a good iman, you're strong in your iman. You should understand that this is by the guidance of Allah. Allah could have made you one of those people who spend the nights in bars and pubs. So always refer the good things to Allah. Because your nafs, yourself is more dangerous than the shaitan, than Satan itself. Be careful. So don't be arrogant. Any capabilities, any talents that you have were given to you by Allah. Thank Allah for it. Thank Allah for your IQ. It's not for you, it's by Allah. Okay? So this is important. So these things are important to purify and to strengthen.
MashaAllah. Last two questions. One from the brother. If the sisters have any questions, please raise up your hand. Otherwise, there's another brother here.
Can you define what is fitna? Like, for example, if the management of some Muslim organization or some other trust, they are causing some mischiefs, and if we ask them those, and they say, don't pay fitna.
Okay, good. Actually, here we come to the fiqh of priorities. We will see the harm. If they, number one, we may believe that those leaders are doing wrong things when they are not wrong. So number one, we have to make sure, are they really wrong or not? It's number one. Maybe we are not doing justice to them by speaking about them, saying that they are doing wrong things. But number one, we have to make sure that what they are doing is wrong. Number two, what are the consequences of what they are doing? Number two, what are the ways to correct what they are doing? And the consequences of what we can be doing. If the consequences of what we are going to do can be more harmful than the consequences today, then let what they are doing stay like that until we find a better solution. So we have to study it according to the fiqh of priorities. If we can do our own organization, fine. If we cannot, let's stick with the organization and try to reform from inside. This is the best way. Call number one for a democratic mean to elect the leaders. If there's a democratic mean, because when in the most democratic countries, you cannot have an organization without a democratic means inside to elect leaders. Then go to the poll and choose, to the ballots, and choose the one. If you can't do so, then you are too weak to reform. Okay? Last question.
Last question. Any from the sister side?
Khalas.
No more?
Sisters, don't
brothers, no more? Brother Haq?
Ya Brother Haq.
Thank you. If you let me comment something. The request is, from different ways is being raised about the community leaders.
A question, brother. First, no need about community anymore. Yeah. Question, brother.
Question, not question.
No need any communities again.
Allah, so do the Mr.
Brothers from Egypt, and we are from Hong Kong. And he's going to Singapore. So what he has to do?
No, the issue is, I'm not from here, and I don't know the real issues. I don't know the politics. So when people are involved in all the time like that, number one, I don't know which organization you're talking about, but if it's the one that we are in it right now, then you are putting the brothers in an embarrassing situation. I don't know. So this is something that you should understand. If you want me to come again, then maybe you shouldn't ask me this question in public in their organization. I'm telling you, it's not wise to do so. So it's up to you here. Okay.
Then just leave it.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Question about the Satan, Iblis.
Yes.
It's Hayula, Shakila. Where does it resides? Where does it lives? I am Mukim. So people ask that it might have some physical.
Where does the devil live?
And then how can prevent? And another question related, not related, but about this sacred month, Muharram. the story of the martyrdom of Sayyidina Hussein and what was the message.
Wow.
What's the real?
Perfect.
What was the real
Perfect.
thing that he fought for?
Perfect. Those are
So
two
people
questions.
should
The third
follow
one?
footsteps.
You have a third question? Good. Jazakallah khair.
3 and 1.
Well, yes. Number one, where is...
Sorry, 3 minutes. 3 minutes ago.
Where is the shaitan? Prophet Muhammad said, he is flowing in your blood. He's very close to you. So be careful. He can whisper to you. But he's very weak. Shaitan is the weakest thing. Weakest link, actually. Just wait, ya khalas. Okay? Khalas, you took your chance. Keep the microphone away from him. Okay? So the Prophet said he's very close to you, but also Allah said in the Quran that he is weak. إِنَّ كَيْدَ الشَّيْطَانِ كَانَ ضَعِيفًا. His plots are weak. So what are the weapons that Allah gave to you? What is the weapon? الذكر, the remembrance of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. As soon as he starts whispering to you, seek refuge with Allah. Remember Allah all the time. Allah will help you against the shaitan. Second, about Sayyidina Hussein. This is the problem. When the Shia look like they are the people who are pro Ahlul Bayt, so we are pro who, inshallah? Are we pro the others who are against them? No, we are pro Ahlul Bayt, of course. We know that the one who killed Al-Hussein is a fasiq, is a criminal. And we believe that if we go back, then the killing of Hussein, like 30 years before that day, at the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet, they are human beings. So they had a problem between them, and those who were involved in doing this problem between them are people who were actually Jewish, and they accepted Islam. They started creating the fitna in the both camps until the polarization happened. And then they fought each other. But we believe, as Sunnis, that Ali ibn Abi Talib and his group were the people on the right track. According to Prophet Muhammad's hadith, that one of the Sahaba, he told him, تَقْتُلُكَ الْفِئَةُ الْبَاغِيَةُ. You will be killed by the oppressor. So the others are the misguided and the oppressors. And they are what? They are Sahaba too. So we don't call them bad names. This is the difference. We say they are human beings, they made ijtihad, and they were wrong. So, but we don't exceed saying that they are wrong. Not like the others go further than this. No, this is not right. So we are more balanced in this. Okay? We don't call Sayyidina Muawiyah or Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan bad names. No. But we say the guided Khalifs are four. The one who comes after them is not a guided Khalif. He's not one of the guided four Caliphs. What else can we say? That's it. So we said that he is the one who invented kingship. Okay? And that was wrong, and we paid the price for 14 centuries until the Arab Spring came. But still, we're not going to curse him, and we respect him, and we respect that he was one day one of the scribes of the Quran. And in his time, many of the non-Muslim nations became Muslim. So everyone has the good things and the bad things, a good side and a bad side. And those companions of the Prophet are human beings. Prophet Muhammad himself is a human being. And Allah told him to tell us in Surah Al-Kahf, the last verse, قُلْ, say, O Muhammad, إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ, I am just a man like you. Okay? Is he really like us, or is there a difference? There's a difference, which is, the verse says, except that I receive revelation. He's a man like us, but he receives revelation. Same like Jesus, same like Moses, same like all of them. We are not going to elevate any one of those prophets to a higher standard than human beings. The problem is some of us are elevating people who live among us in a higher standard than human beings. This is wrong. Okay? Like that, I would like to end with this. I would like to end my talk, and I'd like to thank you very much. And I really wish to come again and again and again to Hong Kong, bi'Iznillah, inshallah.
You will never escape that.
If not, at least to eat this delicious food.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Fadel Soliman. Really, you have enlightened us on the topic and on many other issues. We are already working for your efforts. And I know that Sheikh Fadel Soliman, mashallah, he sleeps only 3-4 hours a day. And mashallah, he gives a lot of time for the service of the deen. We love you, Sheikh, for the sake of Allah. And yes, we will come again. And don't forget tomorrow, 6 to 8, inshallah, Mood Court building in Hong Kong University, Islamophobia and Islamophobes. Please try to invite your non-Muslim friends and neighbors. Jazakumullah khairan. I just wanted to end with one more reminder, since we have been speaking about Shia and Sunni. Our workshop about Sunni and Shia understanding of Islam will start this coming Sunday, those who wish to register. And I assure you that we are not going to attack any individuals. We are going only to discuss Aqidah-wise. So please feel free to register at Serving Islam Team office. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.